In this episode of Art Loft, we present Variations on Breathing, a short film from YoungArts. A journey into the ocean to visit a historic statue.
And they had to think, where shall we sink this? They wanted it shallow enough so that divers and snorkelers both could enjoy it, but they also wanted it in a place that was really rich with coral.
The University of Tampa's modern pipe organ. Gallery visit with Sandra Attales and Isla Murata.
My goal is to keep things fresh, keep things new, and bring in emerging contemporary artists.
And The Art of the Garden at the Francis Tracy Garden Center in Key Largo. It's all ahead in this episode of Art Loft. Funding for Art Loft is made possible by Friends of Art, Friends of South Florida PBS, and
Where there is freedom, there is expression. The Florida Keys and Key West.
This program is supported in part by the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs. This project is sponsored in part by the State of Florida Department of State Division of Cultural Affairs and the Florida Council on Arts and Culture.
Hi, I'm Lolo Reskin, and from the Francis Tracy Garden Center here in Key Largo, this is Art Loft. We're here at the Francis Tracy Garden Center in Key Largo, and today is their annual Garden Walk. It's a beautiful celebration of the art and flora in the Florida Keys. I'm sitting here today with Evelyn McClone, who's the fundraising director of the Garden Center of the Upper Keys. I would love for you to tell me a little more about the mission of the Garden Club.
Well, our mission is to conserve the beauty of the Keys, to learn how to garden in the Keys, what native plants to use and what native plants not to use. Some of them are invasive and they take over your garden, so this is way better to come here, get educated, learn what to use, learn what's friendly to the birds and the bees and the butterflies and everything else. So it's really a lot of fun. Right, exactly.
It's a lot of great people here today. Tell us a little bit more about the Garden Walk.
Well, the Garden Walk is an annual event, and we have 5 beautiful homes on the walk this year. And you come here, you buy a ticket, and you take off with your posse in your car, and you go from house to house, and you see what people from little small houses, conch houses on dry lots can do with their homes, to beautiful estates and mansions and so on and so forth. So
great, and then there's sort of an arts market around here with some food and plants for sale and all kinds of things going on. What's one of your favorite parts of the Garden Walk?
These people look forward to coming here. I mean, it's like coming to paradise, setting up, selling what you make, and we have beautiful vendors, as you have seen walking around.
Yeah, it really feels like a great community event. Thanks so much for talking to us today. We're gonna go take a look around. Up next, we've got the short film entitled Variations on Breathing. It was commissioned by the National Young Arts Foundation under their theme of transformations. Enjoy this thrilling mashup of dance, painting, and piano. So as we've seen today, the arts are thriving here in the Florida Keys. But you may be surprised to find out that one of the most iconic works of art in the area is actually underwater. Christ of the Deep is a 9-foot bronze statue located in the Key Largo dry rocks. Let's take a look and learn some of the history about this mesmerizing work of art.
One of the most visited sites in the Keys has got to be Key Largo dry rocks. In fact, many people don't even know the site by that name. They just simply call it the statue because it's the location of the statue of Christ.
The statue is a 2,000-pound bronze statue. He's 9 feet tall. Of course, he was a gift to us from the Italian manufacturer of dive gear, Igiti Cresci. A sculptress named Guido Galletti built 2 statues. After World War II, he wanted to build one statue and place it underwater off the coast of Italy in memorial for all those that died at sea during the war from all nations. The problem was he did not have enough bronze material, so our Navy chipped in a couple of propellers and he made the first statue, and it went off the coast of Portofino in 1954. Then in 1960, he built another statue in the same mold and gave it to us, and we placed it out here in Pennycamp Park in 1965.
It was donated to the Underwater Society of America. This was meant to celebrate the establishment of John Pennycamp Coral Reef State Park. You know, back in that day, the guys who were the Pennycamp Park managers, they were given this beautiful statue, 12-foot high bronze statue, and they had to think, where shall we sink this? They wanted it shallow enough so that divers and snorkelers both could enjoy it, but they also wanted it in a place that was really rich with coral. They didn't want to put it out in an underwater desert. They wanted it to be a centerpiece for a thriving reef, and so they chose Key Largo dry rocks.
It's a very interesting reef because it's circular in shape as opposed to being elongated, which most of our reefs are in the Keys. Mooring buoys surround the entire reef area. The back side of the reef is very good for snorkeling, nice and shallow. The front side of the reef, you've got 25 to 30 feet of water and nice spur and groove formations that divers can work in and out of. So there's a lot more to see than just the statue, but of course the statue is a highlight of that site.
Because people have gone out there so much, I mean, the fish are very desensitized to the presence of divers and snorkelers, so it's really quite interesting. Again, any inner reef, not just this one, but any inner reef won't have the visibility on any given day that the outer reefs will. That's just a function of the benefit of the Gulf Stream, but you can expect on most days 30, 40-foot viz on the statue and Key Largo dry rocks. Some days you'll get 60, 80-foot viz, and man, those are special days. It's really a beautiful little reef.
So cool. I've actually had the chance to check out Christ of the Deep in person myself, and I gotta say it's a great experience. We had a chance to catch up with some divers who've been there too. Let's hear what they have to say.
I think I first dove the statue 25 years ago. And I've been on the statue, I don't know, a lot since, and it's never gotten boring. Just because the location on the reef itself, it's so colorful, it's so pretty. There's so many soft corals, hard corals, and you get so much life coming through that you're gonna see something different every time you go.
The Christ statue, it's one of those experiences that everyone wants to have. When you first move down here, you first visit the Keys, everyone wants to see it because that's probably the first image that people think of when they think of underwater in Key Largo in the Florida Keys. So my first time, it was pretty special. And then every other time, it's still very, very interesting.
One of the really neat things, it's one of what we call inner reefs. It's got some of the prettiest color. It's one of the few places that's shallow enough where divers can enjoy it and skin divers can enjoy it. And usually it's a place where you see the skin divers coming down, you see the scuba divers doing their photo ops and stuff like that, but it's just a really, really neat place and a very, very pretty reef in itself.
You just never know what you're gonna see. I've seen hammerhead sharks there, spotted eagle rays, and just everything in between.
You can dive it, you can snorkel it, you can sit on the top and just float and look down at it, and on a good day, the visibility is really clear, the light comes in and it shines the statue up. So going there on Easter Sunday and watching people have that emotional reaction is one of those days that stays in your memory.
I'm not a religious person, but I do believe there's something. A lot of people like to touch the hand.
The statue is the most iconic presence in Key Largo. It's the most famous thing that you're going to see nationwide, worldwide. When someone says Key Largo, there's usually a picture of the statue attached to it. So the idea that I can say, I was there, I shook it, I gave him a high five, that's special.
At the University of Tampa, you can discover the Sykes Chapel. Inside this new structure, you'll discover something massive, a 21st century pipe organ. Let's go take a tour.
The University of Tampa has been here for a long time. We were established in 1931. It began with an iconic building, the old Tampa Bay Hotel, that was built by Henry Plant back in the 1890s as a tourist destination at the end of the rail line. The university acquired that building in 1931, and it became the home of everything at the university. Students lived there, the library was there, eating facilities, dining facilities. When the plans for the chapel were announced, the then organ professor in the music department here went right to the president's office, and he said, you know, you can't build a chapel, no matter what the definition of chapel might be. You can't build such a structure without putting a pipe organ into it. And so plans were launched for this great instrument that's here now. Working together, we had the ability to create the perfect environment for this organ. All of the elements came together beautifully. The architects, the architectural firm, was working together with the acoustical consultants who worked together with the organ builder. There are fewer than 50 pipe organs built per year in the United States, so it is really a very specialized art, and they're built in a handful of shops. There were 14 designs for this instrument before this was selected to go into the room. Organs are places of beauty for music of great beauty, and I think that's sort of key to it, that we work in this sort of elevated aesthetic place, if you will. Even looking at this key desk, you can see that the woods in it are precious woods. This is burled elm. The craft of such things as the stop knobs is just turned to a very high level of refinement and polish. The keys are made of bone, and everything works then as a kind of perfect machine, if you will. One builds up sound in choruses. What's happened there? The physics of this is really very easy to understand. My fingers depress these keys. That action is transmitted through levers to a series of carbon fiber filaments, and they're transmitted through another set of levers upward to wind chests. And on top of these boxes sit a whole collection of whistles. So an organ pipe is nothing more than a whistle, the same as any child's toy whistle would be. And they're very sophisticated whistles, but they're placed on these boxes called wind chests. And when you depress the key, that opens a pallet on the bottom of the box and it admits wind to the channel on which all of these notes sit. So the second part of that, that happens in this axis going back and forth, but the second part of it, left and right, is that there are rows of pipes all put on that same wind chest, which are different tone colors and different pitches. So this stop, and this stop, and this, all sit on these wind chests together. And how you arrange this, how you pull the stops and how you play the keys gives us our ability to both change color and play pitches. 500 years ago, I would have been accompanied by two assistants standing on either side of this console, pushing and pulling these for me, and they would have been big, long wooden draw stops that would come way out. I probably would have also had 5 or 6 choir boys or children in the back of the organ pumping like crazy to create the wind in the bellows. This is, of course, electrically blown. But these pistons allow us then to program the sounds that we want and put them in order, put them anywhere we want. And in this particular case, and here's the 21st century technology, there's a computer that runs this whole system, and every one of these single pistons can be programmed 256 memories deep. It's a real snapshot of, if you will, the humanities, of technology, of science, all working together. Reflected in this one instrument are skills of metallurgy, of acoustics, skills of woodworking, design, and linguistic skills. Organs are built all over the world. And one of the things that really speaks to the nature of that instrument, where it comes from, is how it resembles the language in those particular places. So all of that complexity spoke to so many sides of my own imagination and my own creativity. I think if I had been just a musician and wanted to go deeply into music and only music, I think I would have wound up either being a pianist or a symphony conductor. But because I was interested in science first, and architecture second, and music third, it was very, very logical for me to find this instrument and to be able to still keep my hand in all of that kind of thinking.
In our next segment, we visit with visual artist Sandra Attales in her Isla Morada studio. Her new space, Studio Sesh Arts, is a great new place for contemporary art exhibitions and some pretty neat art classes. Check it out.
I have to really think about where my highlights are first, because then once I go and I seal each layer with my spray fixative, I can't go back and lift out that highlight with my eraser. So once it's down, it's down. This is the Moradaway Cultural Arts District. I'm Sandra Attales, and this is Studio Sesh Arts. This is my studio and art gallery. I will be showcasing probably 3 to 4 different artists, 4 different times a year, in the genre of contemporary art and painting to sculptures to mixed media art. Currently we have Jenny Attell, she does pop art. We have printmaking, classical oil painting, so I keep a mix in here, but my goal is to just to keep things fresh, keep things new, and bring in emerging contemporary artists. Ultimately, I wanted a space where I could work large and feel as if I'm in an area that's going to continually inspire me. Definitely my family has influenced my work. I just had a baby about 1.5 years ago. I don't know if I did everything right the first year, but so all of that came out in my new body of work. There's a piece that's to do with social media. It's called Edit, Save, Edit. This piece actually has to do with women, our strive to always want to edit ourselves for social media. Edit your makeup, edit your face, edit the proportions of your face, and edit, save, edit because you're never done editing. I work with brushes, with oils, charcoal. Oh man, there's just something, I touch these. I'm touching the charcoal, I'm pushing this into the canvas, and I get to control the darkness of the charcoal. I get to control the opacity. I get to control the haziness, the moodiness. These are the alleyway pieces, and those were done in Savannah. This one, out of the 4, is the most talked about too. I love that one. I skipped class one day. I drove around, I took a few pictures. So I started playing around with line and edge and darkness. And I started these in charcoal, and then I ended up finishing them off in oils. One of the things people ask me too is, do I recommend framing? And I always say absolutely not, because I like my fingerprints, which is also like an added signature. The fan is probably the most #1 talked about piece in the studio. I spent a lot of time doing that fan. I actually ended up getting some books from around town. I painted them, made a little installation. The tapestry piece originally came from an oil painting that I was working on. It was like a nighttime floral. I want to cultivate creativity in this town, on this street, on this island with this space. I want to be a space where people feel like they can take that away from here.
Hi, my name is Lisa Coe, and I'll be reading from The Leavers. Like a detective inspecting the same 5 seconds of surveillance video, Deming replayed last Wednesday afternoon, walking the blocks from school to home. Again and again, he and Mama crossed Fordham Road, waited at the light, slipped onto ice, hugged, Mrs. Johnson forever watching. Deming zoomed in on the frames, slow motioned their walk up University, then reversed it so they goose-stepped downhill, cars and buses groaning backwards. He picked apart the words she said, hunting for clues, the way his English teachers made them read poems and spend 20 minutes talking about the sentence, the meaning behind the meaning. The meaning behind his mother telling him about her life, the meaning of Florida, the meaning of her not coming home.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on Art Loft. You can connect with us online anytime at Art Loft SFL on social media. For Art Loft, I'm Lolo Reskin, and I'll see you next time.
Funding for Art Loft is made possible by Friends of Art, Friends of South Florida PBS, and
Where there is freedom, there is expression. The Florida Keys and Key West.
this program is supported in part by the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs. This project is sponsored in part by the State of Florida Department of State Division of Cultural Affairs and the Florida Council on Arts and Culture.